World. How are you guys doing? I am live for a little coffee chat. Coffee and caffeine is a topic that a lot of people ask about, so I'm excited to give a little talk about it. First of all, I want to give a little shout out to an athlete friend of mine who gave me this cup a little bit ago, Roseanne Berger. Thank you very much, Roseanne. And in my cup is some, I don't want to spill it, but some coffee. Iced coffee here in Florida because it's a bit hot. But anyways, all right, I'm outside and I've got my notes here flying all over the place, so bear with me a minute. But anyways, okay. So a little bit about caffeine and coffee use as a stimulant for your performance. That's what we're going to talk about today. And we might go off topic a little bit. If you have any questions, type them on the right-hand side. If I see them come through, I'll answer them. So like I said, caffeine and coffee, a lot of people when they think about caffeine, they automatically think about coffee. So if you hear me saying one or the other, I'm talking about caffeine for the majority of the time. Caffeine is a stimulant. It's often used as a performance enhancer. We supplement with it before workouts or before our races, things like that. A lot of different supplements include caffeine. Some are non-caffeinated. A little bit of a disclaimer before I start this talk. A lot of the discussion that we're going to talk about is all study-based. Everything's been researched. I have the articles, but please just look at this as an overall view. Everybody's response to caffeine is a little bit different, so I don't want you to take what I say here and necessarily go apply it and then have a hard time out there. If you have any questions about your personal use with caffeine, hit me up and we can talk about that. So I just wanted to say that first. So anyway, first we'll start off with the dose. So people ask, okay, what's the dose of caffeine? Now, this varies a lot with the individual. A lot of studies have shown that low doses, as low as 1.5 milligrams per kilogram to 3 milligrams per kilogram, has an increase in exercise capacity and performance. So those are low doses. They've studied up to 6 milligrams per kilogram, and even studies have gone up to 13 milligrams per kilogram, and it's shown an increase in performance. So what does this mean? Okay, I have an example written here. I'm going to show you. If I weigh 140 pounds, when you want to find out how many kilos you weigh, you're going to divide that by 2.2. So I weigh 63.6 kilos. Okay? So when we do a lot of these conversions, we do it in kilograms rather than pounds. So on the low side, like I just said, 1.5 to 2.9, one study showed, that would be 95 milligrams to 184 milligrams of caffeine that I would intake. That has been shown to increase performance. However, the majority of the study has been on 6 milligrams per kilogram. What does that mean? That means I would intake 381 milligrams of caffeine. So some people say, oh my gosh, that's a ton of caffeine. Look at this, super high doses, 13 milligrams per kilogram. That's going to be pretty much double, so almost 700 milligrams per kilogram that I would take, and they've studied that to show it does increase performance. So when you look at this, and you're going to say, okay, maybe I'm going to use 6 milligrams per kilogram, 381 milligrams of caffeine, right? I got this little chart here. Sorry, I'm visual, so I hope you guys can see it, but you can see that it shows coffee, 1 cup, is 80 to 130 milligrams. So what does this mean, just in general? It means that you have to plan, when you're planning your supplement use, whether it be with nutrition or supplements or things like that, caffeine, one of those things, you have to plan for this just like everything else. So if the coffee here is going to give me 130 milligrams, and I want to supplement with 381 milligrams, then we know that I'm going to obviously have to increase it because that 1 cup of coffee isn't going to give me enough milligrams of caffeine that is needed for my performance in the case of using 6 milligrams per kilogram. So sometimes a lot of, you drink coffee or you drink tea and you think you're getting your caffeine, but as you can see in this chart right here, there's really not that much of caffeine in some of those items. So when you're planning, if you're going to use caffeine in its natural form as far as like coffee or tea or chocolate and things, just make sure that you know how many milligrams are in those items, because it might not be as much as you think, and you might have to go and drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee or tea. Tea, actually, 8 ounces of black tea has 45 milligrams of caffeine. So if you want to have, like I said on this paper, 381 milligrams of caffeine, you have to drink like a crap ton of tea. So that would be like 6 cups of tea. Do you really want to do that before your workout? Probably not, because then you're going to just be peeing. But anyways, okay, so that being said, a lot of formulas nowadays that you put in your water has caffeine included. They're great because they add a little bit more. Some energy drinks people use. So just keep in mind the dose to reach the level of caffeine that you want to intake. Caffeine is rapidly absorbed, so you want to take it within 30 to 60 minutes. The different sources of caffeine that you intake is absorbed at different rates, but they've all been shown to be absorbed within the 60 minutes. So for an example, a study showed that they tested coffee capsules and one other substance of caffeine, cola. So coffee was absorbed in 42 minutes, cola was absorbed in 39 minutes, and the capsules was absorbed in 67 minutes. You might not necessarily know when your peak time is for whatever supplement that you're taking, but just know that if you take it within the 60 minutes for your performance, that's when you're going to get the greatest benefit of caffeine use. If you go on to using caffeine for longer events, like events over 2 hours, studies say that 1 milligram per kilogram every 20 minutes increases performance. So you want to go ahead and supplement and continually use the caffeine throughout that event. Reminder, like I said in the beginning, if you guys weren't with me, this does vary greatly among different people. It's important that when you're starting to add more caffeine to your regimen, that you go up slightly. Don't say, oh, Victoria told me 6 milligrams per kilogram has been studied and it's great, I'm just going to do that, and you've only been having 1 milligram per kilogram, because you might just be like, wah, and your heart starts beating and everything and you go crazy. So you want to go up slowly to figure out what's the best amount of caffeine for you to use. Some questions that I get asked a lot: are there any negative effects of caffeine? So a lot of studies have shown that there are no negative effects on exercise performance. There's been studies that have looked at anywhere from 100 milligrams up to 700 milligrams of caffeine intake, and it rarely affects difference in urine output, dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, anything like that. The studies have shown that there's really no correlation with the negative effect. So caffeine is a great stimulant to use to increase your performance. It does not impair protein synthesis. A lot of times people say that. It also has been shown to decrease the rate of perceived exertion, and it helps decrease the pain. So there's been studies that have shown, for example, people with leg pain after they intake caffeine when they're working out, the leg pain goes away, or they don't feel the leg pain as much. So this is why a lot of times you can increase your performance with that as well. Another question that I get asked a lot: habitual intake. So habitual intake does not diminish the ergogenic effects of caffeine. You might feel like if you took a break, for example, like a few weeks off or whatever, you might feel the effects a little bit more with the doses that you're using, especially if you're a habitual drinker and you take off 2 weeks and then you add it back in. But if you're a habitual user and you want to continue to use it for your performance 30 to 60 minutes beforehand, the effects are not going to be diminished because you continually drink coffee. So if you're like me, who I like to have a few cups in the morning, a cup in the afternoon like I got here, or just like showing you my cup, but it's not going to diminish the properties of the effects on your workout. So, okay. A couple of other things I wanted to talk about as far as caffeine goes, and I have little notes here that I'm going to show you. Besides it being a good stimulant for performance, there is also a lot of different health benefits that you can reap when you drink caffeine or caffeinated beverages or supplements. Once again, disclaimer, please do not go out and try something new without consulting your doctor prior to doing anything different if you hear something I say. But studies have shown that blood pressure, regular coffee drinkers, they have lower blood pressure than those who do not drink coffee. Another study showed that although there was an increase in 3 hours, increase in your blood pressure, it did not increase the blood pressure overall or any cardiovascular disease. So as far as blood pressure goes, there's been a positive correlation with drinking caffeine or coffee and blood pressure. Cardiovascular disease studies show that 3 to 5 cups per day, which is awesome. There's been a 15% reduction in cardiovascular disease. For diabetes, there was a meta-analysis performed, and it said 4 to 6 cups had a lower risk of type 2 diabetes than people who drank 2 cups a day. So positive outlook on that. I have a whole list of other studies. Even with cancer, it's been shown to decrease the rate and risk of cancer. So it's an extremely functional food, and I have a whole list of studies. If you guys want, I'll have John post it so you can read about the other health benefits besides performance enhancement that it entails. Hang on a second here, I'm scrolling down. Okay, so like I said, 30 to 60 minutes is what you want to aim for when you're going to use caffeine as a supplement. You want to supplement anywhere from 1.5. You can supplement all the way up to 10 milligrams, 13 milligrams per kilogram, and it's been shown to increase your performance. Keep that in mind. If you have any other questions on caffeine, or if you want to individualize a little bit more, feel free to hit me up for a consult or a monthly plan, and we can start to learn how to incorporate that in your plan for performance. Caffeine's a great stimulant, tastes great. One thing I do want to say though, for coffee users like me, or tea drinkers, or anything, if you're going to have 6 cups of coffee a day or more, that's awesome. Obviously you see it can benefit, but pay attention to what you're putting in your coffee. If you're not drinking it black and you're adding a whole ton of sweetened creamer or milk and sugar, that's when the calories kind of sneak up on you. So when we're talking about caffeine and its uses for performance, remember in the morning, if you're going to start adding more coffee to your daily routine, hold off on the creamer, hold off on the sugar. Don't add all that if you're going to start adding all these coffees, because next thing you know, you're up like 12 teaspoons of sugar a day for nothing, you know. So get used to drinking black coffee or something, or make, like for example, me in the morning, my coffee I make with a little creamer and it's sweet, but then throughout the day when I have coffee, I'll drink it black. So come up with something, a little plan, so that way you're not adding those unnecessary calories just because you're trying to get the benefits of coffee. Tea. So does anybody have any questions? Hey June, hi John. How's it going? Hey Larry. Okay, if you guys have any questions, hit me up. I'm going to end the live video now so people can go back and watch. But I hope you guys are doing well. And I hope you guys are out there training still and enjoying this time and trying to stay fit, healthy, and active and eating right. And I will talk to you guys later. See ya.